Welcome to Designer Discussions with Jason, Mirjam, and Maria. Today, we're going to do a review of KBIS.
Welcome to the Designer Discussions podcast. Tune in each week where we discuss marketing, branding, PR, and business advice for design professionals.
Today, we are joined by Jan from the Vestabul School of Design. She did 7 predictions before KBIS, so we now have her on to see how many of them came true and what was all learned from the event last week. So how are you doing today, Jan?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me.
So if you could tell our audience just a little bit about you and who you are.
My name is Jan Rutgers, and I'm the founder and president of Vestabul School of Design, which is an online teaching, coaching, and mentoring school for people that are passionate about the kitchen design industry. And it's something I've been in the industry, in the kitchen and bath and design industry for over 25 years, and I feel this is my way to give back. And I'm still loving being here, and going to KBIS is one of my highlights of the year.
So we actually had the KBIS event last week, and it was attended by over 70,000 people, which was amazing. And I actually had a great time there. So you wrote ahead of the event 7 predictions of what will happen. So how many of those actually came true?
Pretty much most of them. I think there's kind of one that I'll go through that I didn't see evidence of, but it still, to me, doesn't mean that I don't think that it's going to be a trend for 2022. And just looking at the blog last week, I wrote the blog prior to coming to KBIS, because I always look at trends at the beginning of the year, like all of the blogs and the magazines, and everybody is talking about trends typically in January and February of the year. So I took that opportunity to do my research. In general, I do a lot of interior design research and put together what I felt to be the top 7 trends that we would see in the industry for 2022.
So Jan, based on your 7 predictions, could you run us through those and just kind of give us an overview on what you did end up seeing at the show, please?
Absolutely. So I'll take you through the 7 predictions that I wrote about, and then I'll give a little recap on each. So the first one, I'm going to preface it with my predictions for 2022 really came out of my research on what's happened, in our lives in the last 2 years. And so with COVID and with the pandemic, there's been a lot more focus on the home because people have been in their homes longer. They're not leaving their homes as much, and it was changing our habits. So my research really started to show that. So my predictions really are based on that. So the first one was more food storage. So, definitely we were going to the grocery store less often. We weren't eating out. We were making meals at home. So that meant more products and more food coming into the home. So more food storage was my first one. The second one was what I'm calling beverage bars. And that's not necessarily just a wine bar. This is the coffee bar, the juice bar, the smoothie making bar, but a designated area in the kitchen that you could have beverage preparation out of the main work area. Solutions for pets. I know some friends that actually got dogs and cats during the pandemic, and I started seeing that generally that people were going to, we've always loved our pets and pampered them, but even more so now. I see that there's more pets being brought into the home, and people really want to pamper them. Also, something that I started to see to do with ergonomics, and I think this is because people were using their kitchens a lot more, and it's lineal installation of appliances. So rather than stacking, warming drawers and microwaves and ovens in a stack, to put them lineal so that they were more ergonomic and easier to use. So I really predict that to be something will be strong in 2022. Another one was built-in banquettes. just because I feel that we all love a great room setting, and I think we're still going to be opening our kitchens up and having that great room, but we kind of need a cozy place in the kitchen that I kind of describe it as something that hugs us and makes us feel warm and comfortable off in that corner, and I do predict that to be something we'll see in 2022. And this is one I've been watching for the last year or so, and I really think it's going to explode in 2022, is more curves. And I've got some great examples of that I saw at the show. And then the last one is that changing color palette that, we've had the cool white color palette, again, specifically talking about cabinetry, for the last decade. And I predict that that's really going to be changed up this year and beyond.
I did not see any white kitchens.
No, I found a few. I was going through my images last night, and of course, I've got hundreds of images that I took, and I could find, a little bit here and there of some white cabinetry within a kitchen, but never the whole white, not the whole white kitchen. So
it was lots of colors too. It wasn't just the grays. I mean, what are some of the colors that you saw that were being used in the cabinetry?
So with the cabinetry, overall, it was a warming of the palette. So I didn't see a lot of grays because, that being more of the cool, and you're definitely not seeing that cool white, but really warming of the palettes. Probably green was the number one color, and we saw it in everything from, deep dark greens to more vibrant kind of apple green types of tones. There was a lot of a coral. I saw coral. Definitely still saw the blue. Like it's still, I believe blue is the number one, or the color, favorite color of people. So there was blue, but if I were to describe it in one word, it's warm. That it was a much warmer palette than what we've seen in the last 10 years.
I was walking through the show and I noticed so much metal that it actually gave me a little bit of like work anxiety. What was your take on the booths and what you were seeing?
You're absolutely right, Maria. There was a lot of metal. There was a lot of what we call in the industry mixed metals. And when I look at mixed metals, it was something that started creeping into the design arena, more 5-6 years ago. And probably, I'd have to admit, probably what I saw at the show was a little bit overload. That to mix metals is very, it's really difficult. It's not just a matter of grabbing a whole bunch of different metals and throwing them together. It really takes a designer's eye. So, I felt there was some really good examples of it at the show, and there was some maybe not so good. And it becomes something that is easy to jump on board or get on board with. So you have manufacturers from cabinet hardware, lighting, the different accessories, hoods, appliances, all have access to doing something with their metals, colorizing them, powder coating them, what have you. But it's very difficult to get everybody on the same board. So it was kind of crazy. When I said earlier that curves was something that I've been seeing a lot lately, or that I've been predicting would come along, and that I'm starting to see it in my research, it was everywhere at KBIS. And when I'm talking about curves, if you think about kitchen and bath design, in the last decade, it was very hard. We had a lot of rectangular islands, like these big rectangular islands, sharp corners. We had a lot of, in the plumbing industry, a lot of square sinks. There was a lot of what I call hardness, but the curves were everywhere. That everything from islands that had curved ends. There was a lot of structures that would be built into the displays, like niches, and they would have like big curved tops on them. I was, I snapped a picture in the Kohler booth, which is always the biggest plumbing booth that that everybody goes to. And I was looking at the display, and everything, like, it had oval mirrors. The ends of the vanities had a soft radius on the ends. The countertop had a radius. Now, there was the sink in it was undermounted it was a rectangular, but great. You don't want to go overboard with a trend. And then even the faucet had a beautiful curve to it. And to me, it was really refreshing. I find that as somebody that actually works in their kitchen and has has designed over 1,000 kitchens, I was always really hesitant on these square, sharp edges. These are rooms that we're moving around in, and having those sharp corners wasn't always the best design. And I think one other thing too that I really saw that told me curves are going to be strong is that if you looked in the background of displays, like how were the manufacturers displaying their products, they used a lot of curved walls, curved openings where, you'd have a nice big booth and you would move from one area to the other. And I was amazed at how many of them had big arch topped openings. So it's getting into our psyche, and we'll see. We're going to see a lot more of it in the years to come.
Jen, I want to ask you about a trend that always shows up in the media and has for years. So what about the technology and the connected home and all of that? I know it's still a trend, but do you see it really settling in, and are people and designers actually using it in the work? It's something that you recommend?
Yeah, and I think definitely we're not going to be able to get away from it. And whole industries have sprung up on the smart home, and I know that you can get your appliances that can connect to it. You can get your plumbing fixtures that connect to it. For me, personally, it's I find it very complicated. I will admit, I find it very complicated. And what system do you pick? And I say that because 20 years ago, the first smart home technology that I'm aware of, probably even 25 years ago, started coming into the marketplace. Well, it's long gone. That system, doesn't work anymore. But I think it's getting better, and better. And you will be able to hook up a lot of your kitchen and bathroom products to it, and I think it's going to be, what's your comfort zone going to be, and as a designer, what's your client's comfort zone? I recently did a home where we looked at it and we decided that we would make half the house smart home, but the other portion, which was kind of the guest portion, we didn't. We wanted them to be able to go in and flick on a switch to turn the lights on, without having to get somebody's iPad. And I'll admit I didn't really focus on it because, I find it, you really need to bring in a specialist now that can put it all together, because it is really complicated. You want to make sure you get the right system that's going to, last you for more than a few seasons.
Jan, can you tell us a little bit about the appliance booths that you saw?
Yes. So there was an observation that I had from this show was that the appliance manufacturers were the ones that really sang. It was amazing what they put into their booths, and how much they were pushing the envelope. And I think it makes sense that the appliance manufacturers were there to show their appliances. And I would think that most of the trends, or most of the innovation in appliance manufacturing, like microwave drawers and steam ovens and speed ovens and pizza ovens and side by side column refrigeration, that all came out quite a few years ago now. So there hasn't been tremendous innovation other than little tweaks. But they were really, really grabbing the attention of the viewers by putting these over-the-top spectacular displays. And if you were to go onto Instagram and just hashtag KBIS 2022, there was one kitchen that was done by Monogram that you'll see it over and over and over again. It was this I loved it. It was really innovative, strong color, lots of pattern. I think they did the mixed metals quite well with it. They'd used the gold in there quite a bit, but the appliance manufacturers, I felt, really won the show this year with their displays.
From the trends and what you learned, what else did you see that you may not have thought of or that was innovative that they had last week?
Well, there was a lot. As you said, there was 70,000 people there. We had the kitchen and bath industry show in conjunction with the International Builders Show. I know that I walked the show for 3 full days, but I know I didn't get to every booth. So, and I do focus a lot on the specifically the kitchen industry. I saw a lot of innovation. Or continuing innovation and product development in accessories, different things that you would put inside the cabinetry. I saw some manufacturers, I saw some manufacturers that were improving on what they had. And I was really happy to see that, because you as a manufacturer or product developer, you need to look at your products and do the consumer and the designer research to make sure that they're working. And there was one manufacturer that I saw that it was Revishelf, and they had taken their pullouts. They have these narrow 8 and 12 inch or 9 and 12 inch pullouts, and they really improved them. They added a little swivel shelf into them. They added what they were calling a little sidekick. So if you had a 15-inch cabinet and you were putting in a 12-inch accessory, there was a little 3-inch one you could add on to it, which was really making it much more functional. So I don't recall seeing anything like, wow, I've never seen this before in accessories, but I did see a lot of product improvements happening with them.
Jan, was this the first show where you saw some of that granny chic coming into the kitchen design, like those little gallery brass shelves? I even saw a really interesting like brass and glass unit that was used as an end cap underneath a countertop on an island.
No, absolutely. That, in the past, we haven't been to live shows for a couple of years, but in the past, things were much cleaner and more sleek. And again, I think it comes back to that lineal square, almost hardness. And because, consumers have been in their homes, they want them to be cozier, or sometimes I refer it to as they want them to be, their homes to be more homey. That vintage chic look, and not being afraid to put an interesting collection out on a shelf, and bringing in something that it's almost furniture-like. I guess that's a good way to describe it, to really change things up. And I think the element that you were looking at, and I've got a picture of it. It's a nice big island, and on the end are some iron and glass, shelves, and it kind of angles in. It gets that curve in again, and it's just. It's a way, it's almost like accessorizing, the way that we'll accessorize our outfits, that we may have the basics, but something like that is a fabulous way to accessorize your kitchen to give it some personality.
What about the whole concept? I didn't see a lot of floating shelves in the kitchens that we in the big displays. I just didn't see them. Did you notice floating shelves?
I saw a few. Yeah, I did. And I took a picture of a few, but it's true. The floating shelf, again, we've seen it for so many years. We've got to have a new iteration. So what I feel that new iteration is the metal, mostly black wrought iron, or like on a matte black metal, as the alternative. So it's a metal frame that can have a wood shelf or a glass shelf. They were everywhere, and they definitely came from the Eurocucina show in 2018. I had attended that show, and it was everywhere. That matte black shelving, and it was interspersed in closet design here, in kitchen design, in bathroom design. So, and there was a lot, I was out on the peripheral of the show, and there was one one supplier, that I found, in the back corner against the wall that, was just a supplier of those products. And, they didn't have a kitchen display, but they had those products and had the whole system of how you can put it together as a designer.
The recent Architectural Digest spread on Gwyneth Paltrow. In her kitchen, she has a whole wall of really pretty display for her blue and white dishes, and they're forward facing and they have the front lip on them. And I'm noticing outside of just the KBIS show, this trend towards how to bring in a little bit more of that cottagecore kind of feel to the kitchens and to the space. And so I was surprised when we were there that I didn't see any of that type of display really up at the KBIS show, but I'm seeing it in homes.
Yeah. And you know what? And I think too, that having designed one of these booths in the past, it's 2 years in advance that you're designing these booths. So, sometimes it's difficult to pivot and put everything that's trending. But I did see in one of the cabinet accessory manufacturers, they had a great pullout that was slotted that allowed you to slot all of your plates and your platters in this custom system. And I loved it. And I had to laugh, though, because I saw, again, at the Eurocachino show 10 years ago or more, 12 years ago in 2010, I still remember walking into a display, and it was a dish pantry, a dishware pantry. So the pantry was just for all your dishes. I fell in love with it. I ended up designing one for a client as soon as I got back. But this manufacturer was on their way, I believe, with this display, this pullout for holding the plates vertically. I think that's going to be something. People are entertaining more at home or eating more at home. They want to treat themselves. They want to be able to see all their beautiful things and use them every day.
I agree 100%. They want to be able to see their beautiful things. They want to delight in their spaces that they're using.
Exactly.
So Jan, this has been an amazing talk, and we appreciate your time. So I know you have a blog where you go into depth on a lot of this information and what happened, and then a review from the show. So if you could let us know how we can find that blog and how any of our listeners can reach out to you if they're interested in more information.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jason. So I'm on my website, which is vestabul.com, spelled VESTABUL.com. You can just click on the blog tab. I specifically blog directly to the designer. I'm not blogging to the consumer. I'm talking directly to you. And, right now, I think I've got close to 100 blogs on there. And, I have to laugh every week. My dear mom will text me, normally text me going, how do you keep coming up with ideas to talk about kitchens? But, to me, it's a fascinating subject. So definitely check it out there on, of course, on the website. There's an area where you can contact me, or you can just you can email me, jan@vestabul.com. So I'm love to hear from you, and I'm going to keep writing about this subject. There's lots more to say.
Appreciate it. So we hope to see you all here next week on Designer Discussions.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Designer Discussions. What was your takeaway? Care to share your thoughts and tag Jason, Maria, and Mirjam on social media? You can find them on all platforms at designerdiscussions.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review or comment for this episode from wherever you are listening.